Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining in and spend a little bit of time with us this Sunday afternoon to talk a little bit of Cowboys football. Appreciate you guys' patience and understanding. Hey, when we hit these on the fly and just doing things and finding guests that need to adjust and change with their schedules, we're always appreciative of everybody's flexibility, especially during these times with football games. And we're all busy, so. Thank you for joining in. If you're coming into the live show, make sure you're getting in the chat as you're doing and paying attention to this. If you're listening to the recorded version, make sure you download, subscribe, get other people to come and listen to the show as well. So we do have a very special guest with us today, former teammate. He's very opinionated, but he's a Super Bowl champion. Did you win national championship with Oklahoma as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
just
got.
saying.
You just saying, he's good like that is all he's saying. He's a wonderful person. He's fun. Obviously, he was nasty. I saw some old pictures of him with some of them old school shorts on. That was looking kind of bad there for a minute, but anyhow, we got Tony Casillas on with us today as well. We will have some others popping in to speak about the Cowboys too. Before I let Tony dive into this, I want to kind of give you guys the layout of the land here on what I'm thinking. I feel like we need to really talk about what's happening with the Dallas Cowboys all the way around. To me, it's almost kind of like a big soap opera, or we need to go back and call the show Dallas, like the one that used to be on TV, because there's all kind of twists and plots and different things that are going on. You got Jerry Jones out there saying one thing, Stephen Jones saying something else, Mike McCarthy doing this. You got players saying a lot of things. Then, of course, you got us, the fans, that are saying. So it's like all these kind of twists. It's actually kind of fun to watch and listen, and then try to put it all together and see if we can make some sense out of it, because it's off season is going to be hectic. It's already hectic. Coaches don't know where they're going, what they, all these things. So it's interesting to see what's happening. All right. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone here because JT is needing to jump in, but he needs a code. So I need to give that to him first. But what do you think about that, Tony, on what I'm saying? Is this how do you feel about all the stuff that's happening here? Is it soap opera-ish like you, or like I'm saying, or something else?
Well, it's first of all, thanks for having me, man. Anytime you want me to hop on, I'm right there with you, brother. It's kind of gotten old. We've heard this song and dance before, and I think you kind of saw the frustration of the fans. I know it wasn't something you condone, like throwing stuff at the referees, officials, but it's very disappointing. And I think that the best way to sometimes describe it is drama, because I think this year, I think there was so much expectation. There's a lot of expectation every year. Certainly after last year and what we saw, and now this year, the first half of the season, this team was built to, on paper, and how they played the first half of the season, to win more than one postseason game. And, they just weren't able to, for some reason, their offense decided that they wanted to just kind of vaporize, and they did good things against really bad teams. But when it came to like playing really good teams, you really saw their deficiencies. And I think it's frustrating because you can point it at fingers and George, the coaching, the philosophy, everything. But it all comes down to players making plays. And I think ultimately they just, for some reason, on the offense side of the ball, are able to do that. And one thing we talked about is that this team has always compromised each other instead of compliment each other. So I think that's the frustrating part. You had a really good offense that put up some big numbers. Defense played their ass off the whole year. And again, one side of the ball wasn't able to help the other side. And I think that's frustration where it lies.
Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate that. We want to welcome to the show the analytical one. I call him JT. Some of his co-workers, or all of his co-workers, call him James. but he's JT around the house. So glad you can come on in with us, my son.
Oh, well, thanks for having me and joining me late or letting me join late.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you got to heard the run out that I was kind of giving there. I'm just saying that we got our own little soap opera. We got the days of our lives with the Dallas Cowboys, and so we're gonna bring on all our children today to be able to talk
It's
about
like a
this.
it's like a reality show. It's I got certain characters and there's certain ones that, but I just we about 3 nights ago we got together with some former players and guys that played in the '90s. It seems like that's kind of where we're kind of going back to around here. Fortunately for us, but for people of JT's age and the Generation X, you don't see that. But so one of the things we did talk about, guys, is that what is the problem with them? Because offensively, for me, it comes down to the teams that we're seeing play right now. We saw what the 49ers did to Green Bay. We saw what Cincinnati and Tennessee, those two games. But it comes down to the offense and defensive line and really being able to run the football. You know that. In
Yes.
postseason play, championship ball, sometimes you just got to roll your sleeves up and just go like a UFC fight. And if you don't respond, that's on you because you get hit and you don't get back up. And I think that's kind of the narrative for all us older guys just talking about, well, what's the difference between those teams and championship teams? Well, I think we kind of saw that against the 49ers, their last game that they played.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about that. Tony does have his own show, his own podcast that he's been doing as well. Make sure you guys support him and follow him on Twitter and Instagram. And we'll talk more about that so he can make sure, everyone knows how to find him. But I want to kind of dive into what you're talking about, your perspective from a lineman's view. How disappointing was our offensive line today, and were we up to standards where we need to be on the defensive line as well?
I just thought that you saw like the last 6 games of the season, as I alluded to, that they could put up points and do the things that they need to do against really inept teams. They're 6-0 in the NFC East, but you just saw there was this underlying issue that they had with them. And when you play a team like the 49ers that can really get after you, we saw it against Arizona. You saw the holes in their offensive line more. I think it was more apparent more in the interior part with the center and the guard. And then on the outside, you saw some guys just really getting isolated on and giving up the plays. And then, I'm not gonna not include Dak Prescott because I think Dak, that's the thing when you watch these really good teams. You know this, George. I mean, you play a good quarterback, they're going to find a way to beat you, and regardless of what you decide to run your philosophy, and maybe that's a little bit on the offensive coordinator, not trying to isolate and get a guy like to make a play. But Dak wasn't able to do that. And look, I understand he's under duress, but that's kind of the nature that's when you play these really good teams. And certainly the offensive line had their huge issues. When you cannot run the football against teams like that to challenge them, you got problems because all of a sudden, all they're gonna do is like, hey, we want to put you in a situation we just rush the passer. And especially guys that can get after you on the defensive line. And I think that's the two things that happened. You saw the offensive line not very strong, and then you saw Dak Prescott. Hate to say it, but he just didn't step up to the performance he needed to make.
So, what do you guys think it was, though? Do you think it's scheme? Do you think it's heart or lack of heart of the? I just remember when we played, it just seemed like you always hear Big Nate and those guys, man, run the damn ball, and they just said, hey, let's go ahead and do it, and they figured out a way to do it. I just can't. I really don't know where to put my finger at. Is it scheme? Is it our tendencies are too strong and people just knew what we were going to do, or what? You guys got any thoughts on why we might have been so bad at the run game? JT?
I'll give my hot take. Kellen Moore is not that great of an offensive coordinator. There, I said it.
Isn't it amazing, JT and George, that here's Kellen Moore that interviewing for head coaching jobs, and that's kind of the way it is in the National Football League. You get there's a hot lead, and there's someone that comes up and they're sexy, and they're a young guy, and they want a young mind, and the guy's creative on offense. But I agree. I mean, there's so much blame to go around. But yeah, I think that you're right, because when you play a team that is just hitting you in the mouth, and they're going to sit up there and they're just going to do whatever you're not going to run the football against us. What we're going to do is they're going to make you beat us with the passing game. And if you have like all these playmakers like the Cowboys supposedly have, and Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, then why not isolate, devise plays? And I know that, for me, that's what you need to do. You need to challenge until they stop something, go to it, whether it's just to create the momentum. And, Kellen Moore didn't do that. But when the guys got the ball and they got their chance, either drop pass or let's start with whose fault is it when you talk about the most penalized offense in the National Football League? That's pure focus on the player's part. And the fact that they're getting beat, guess what happens? You know this, George, and I know this. Whenever I'm getting beat, all of a sudden I'm going to do some things. All of a sudden I'm going to be a street fighter. And sometimes those techniques, the refs see, and ultimately they just couldn't get it done. So I agree with you. I think Kellen Moore should have devised more of an offensive plan to at least get something going and make them honor and respect you. They didn't have any respect for him whatsoever.
Yeah, there was a couple of things. There's one thing in particular that I remember going to a coach's clinic. I forget what year it was, but I was sitting in on the DB coach from the Arizona Cardinals at the time. Patrick Peterson was still there, and he was showing us basically their entire defensive scheme that year, which was, he said, we play man and we play cover 3. That's it. We don't really do anything special. He said, because in this league, they don't, he said, the good teams don't actually scheme against you. They just go at matchups. They say our receiver is better than your corner, so we're going to throw the ball. He said, we just happen to have Patrick Peterson, so there's not very many people throwing at him. We just need to figure out how to help the other guy out. And when I look at the Cowboys, I don't feel like we do that. It wouldn't shock me if our leading receiver in terms of receptions was Schultz, which is not what you want. He's supposed to be the guy that is, when things aren't going well and you need that third, it's 3rd and 6 and all eyes are on Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. They're Schultz. He's open. And I feel like it's not how the offense was. It was more like, well, we know the other guys aren't going to be open, and everybody was just like, just throw it to Schultz anyway, because he's just a young Jason Witten, in the sense that, he's not George Kittle. He's not stiff arming somebody and going for 50 yards. He's gonna catch his 6-yard pass and try to turn upfield and give you no moves. But
Yep.
I think we've got to do better with that.
You are absolutely right. I want to bring in a couple more people into the chat if I can. Tony, you didn't hear it last time, but I play in a fantasy football league. It's called the Defender of the Star League.
How'd you do, by the way? Did you defend it?
No, I took 4th, I believe. I didn't do very well. The winner is actually in here, and I want to pull them in. Very good people, very good friends. So I'm going to start with Lawrence first. Let's bring in Lawrence, and we'll check out our screens here and see how this all works out, JT. What's up, my man? Glad to see you here.
How we doing, guys?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So we'll call him Lawrence. Meet everybody. If you haven't met Tony Casillas, it's Tony Casillas sitting right next to you. We also got the Shaft Diesel, who's in the house.
How you guys doing?
Last time we were here, he thought Tony Pollard was a linebacker. But you thought I forgot, did you? You thought I forgot.
George doesn't forget anything.
I don't. And then we got too much Camber in the house today as well. So we're all Cowboy fanatics. Camber ended up winning our league.
All right,
It is definitely a conspiracy because, first of all, there was a commissioner that we had who fails to want to come on our podcast anymore
Right.
because he knows we're going to talk about him. And he didn't have things set up right. And then as we all started to scramble and do different things, he appointed Camber to be the new commissioner. We didn't pay attention as a group until late in the season. Like, wait a minute, we got these playoffs starting the wrong time. And for some reason, she couldn't figure out how to change it to make it work. So it worked in her favor that she ended up. Huh?
It wouldn't let me. I tried everything I could. Once we hit that week, they're like, "You're in the playoffs."
Yeah,
212 points on you that week.
Yeah, if you're listening to this on the recorded podcast, there's a lot of air quotes being thrown on the screen right now. Yeah, we're sitting here talking about getting the guys, getting the playmakers the ball. I mean, I'm watching these other ones. Even yesterday, Green Bay lost, but there was only 3 people on the offense that were really involved. It was Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams. And they just found a way to do it. I had actually picked up Lazard in the FanDuel thing to try to win me some money, and they didn't throw the ball to Lazard till one time at the end of the game or something. I'm like, come on, man. But that's their philosophy. So what are we doing with our not being able to get our guys? Mike, Tony, your teammate, talked about it. Playmakers not making plays, not getting the ball. So is some of that, or is it all on the coach, like you were hinting at before? That, hey, there's not a call sheet that says this how I'm gonna get the ball to Amari Cooper, or this how I'm gonna get the ball to, or is it just Dak just trying to find the open guy, and coach not saying, no, we're gonna throw the ball to him. I mean, the Tennessee game. What was you remember the touchdown that what's the quarterback's name? Brown. Is that his name? Number 11 for
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
He's covered up. Tannehill just throwing the ball anyway. He makes a catch, touchdown.
Well, I mean, in Tennessee's defense, Tannehill was throwing the ball to everybody, including the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. So Tony, I'll start with you first on that. What do you think? Dive into that a little bit more for me. Is it coaching stuff? Is it Dak stuff? Is players not getting on the same page and just saying this is what we're going to do to go try to go win this game? What do you think?
I think it's a couple of things. I think for one, it's just having the confidence to throw the ball a guy that you're going to try to create a play. I remember Michael Irvin, and he was a guy that would just harping on, I want the damn ball. I want the damn ball. And Troy would find a way to get it to him, or Alvin Harper. And so they were able to create plays. And I just don't know. I think if they want to go to that type of philosophy, because you have to get some guy active and just create some excitement, some momentum, some confidence. I just don't know in tight coverages if Dak feels comfortable enough to throw a ball like Ryan Tannehill did yesterday and try to throw it to a tight spot. And I think sometimes I kind of get bogged down with getting the ball to too many guys. And you mentioned it. Just, there's three guys involved in the Green Bay's offense yesterday. Unfortunately, their special teams are so horrible. They ended up losing the game. But I think that it's a combination of those two things. You'll get a guy the ball, and Dak, if he's going to run a dig route or whatever he is, going to run something and get open, just throw it to a spot. Don't worry about your checkdowns. And I think sometimes they just get too enamored by that. And ultimately, it's a guy that you got to give it to Dalton Schultz. If that's the guy, that's the guy. But it doesn't really matter who gets it. It's all about who is producing that day and who's being able to create some momentum for you and get your offense going.
Well, you're right. Do any of you guys have any other input? Lawrence, something different that we might be missing? Is it on coach? Is it Kellen Moore? Who are we pointing at for this specifically?
So yeah, actually Tony makes a great point, because I think sometimes I feel like you can have too many quote unquote weapons, and then Dak maybe is like, I got to feed this guy. I got to feed this guy. I got to feed this guy. But ultimately I think, like we were talking about last week, Kellen Moore called a very bland game, at least in my opinion. Like I didn't see any of the creativity getting the playmakers open. And even I think Troy Aikman had come out and said that, if they had been playing Michael the way they were playing CeeDee Lamb, that he would have had 10 catches by the half. So there's got to be something in the scheme or Dak just not feeling comfortable to force it.
Well, I still think I don't know. I've tried to take my player's hat off as much as I can, but it's just hard. Just because I saw the way certain guys work, like Troy was saying, if you're off and it's 3rd and 2 or whatever, he didn't care what play was going to be called. He was throwing the ball out there to Michael Irvin or whoever to get the first down. Hell, it seems like I see Aaron Rodgers doing it all the time, right? All right, just looking around and this is where we're going. And so I'm just wondering, I always tend to think, do they have the trust? Did Dak and the players, have they worked enough? Have they built up enough trust to where they can go out there and take over the game? And does that make Dak too cerebral that he's got to do everything by the book and by the page and, follow all his reads and find the perfect one where he's afraid to make a classroom mistake? I don't know. What do you think about that, Camber?
So did any of you watch the Kurt Warner breakdown of all this? Because there was one thing I took away. Throughout the whole thing, I kept hearing him say details. And there was always some kind of detail in every single play. And it was as if every play was too safe and that Dak wasn't trusting all the way through each play. The other thing I kept hearing was Fred Warner, why they didn't get away from, he was figuring out plays before they were even starting. And there was no adaptation. There was no changing of it. It just, we went out there with the same vanilla thing and they knew what was coming each time. So I'm honestly, it's not any one thing. It's a culmination of a lot. I think it was Kellen's play calling. It was Dak not trusting or having the confidence to make the plays as they were. So.
Okay. Well, I want to switch this for a second just because I don't want to lose Tony as well. And I want to hear from Shaft here a minute about all the I'm calling them rants, but maybe they weren't rants. What is Jerry Jones up to at this point? There's a lot of I don't know, seem like threats or something. We got to evaluate. We got to do some stuff. Is he truly upset? Are we expecting a hammer or an axe to come down to anybody at all? Is he just trying to keep himself on TV and the radio because he's stirring up stuff? I don't know. What do you think, Shaft? Then we'll come back to you, Tony.
Oh, Gerald. I start seeing these things come out, and I think it's kind of a mixture of him being actually frustrated, as well as, hey, ain't nobody said Cowboys in a couple of days. Let me get out there and stir up the pot a little bit. But I actually do think, and one of the things that he was saying was he hasn't made a decision on McCarthy's safety yet, and then you see these reports about Sean Payton possibly leaving New Orleans, kind of raises an eyebrow because, there's always been that love affair since he left here. So Jerry is I believe purposefully enigmatic. He likes to stir the pot and then sit back and watch what happens, but he does it with a purpose. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks with McCarthy, whether Kellen gets a new job and who's going to be replacing all of that good stuff. So I'll just stay tuned and keep watching the show Dallas.
I'm glad you listened to that. Yes, sir. Good reference there. So Tony, I know we got a very close relationship with the Cowboys, and They do take care of both of us, giving us whatever perks we need to have a good time at the games, and offering up some change and all that. So I know sometimes we're a little bit careful about what we say and all that kind of stuff about it, or them personally. But what do you think? What can you say about this? On how you feel.
Well, I don't know about you, but I don't need to be careful. They must be throwing you some bones more than me. So I'll just give my own. I don't look. I can go back and tell you some stories. So,
right.
genuinely, I think Jerry's pissed off. I really think that he really thought this would be the year. And I think what really got him is that I think it wasn't just around here in the regional area, Cowboys. It was the national media, and I don't think very often in the last couple of years, certainly, that the national media hasn't been on board, because all you got to do is watch Stephen A. Smith. You talk about ratings and everything. I mean, there was this genuinely thought that this Cowboy team was legit this year, and Jerry's like, "This is what you're going to do to me?" And Jerry goes out and gets the players. I'm going to give him that. Ultimately, it goes down to these guys making it happen, and they haven't done that. And I think that you can blame a lot of things, and we talked about the mistakes, the penalties, and everything that happens. That's totally on the players. He may, I don't know, at the end of the day, he may just say, look, I'm going to start over and maybe go out and get someone like Sean Payton, which I think would be a great decision on his part. I think that maybe because sometimes I wonder what Mike McCarthy's doing on the sidelines. To me, it just seems to me he's just kind of a figurehead or just a face of the head coaching. So, I think that ultimately, I think it's going to come down to him kind of letting this it's kind of like don't make a sudden decision. Don't make an emotional decision to see what you got. And ultimately, you may lose Dan Quinn. You may lose Kellen Moore. Do you want to continue on with Mike McCarthy? Do you want to go out and hire someone like Mike Zimmer as a defensive coordinator, maybe a head coach? Because I think guys like playing for him. There's a lot of things to be made, but I just think Jerry generally is just upset about how this whole season went down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, JT, you could be biased a little bit more about it. The soap opera.
I'm biased.
Unbiased.
You're biased. You're biased.
But JT is very unbiased. JT will definitely go opposite, just for argument's sake. I would say whatever the take is, his tends to be different most of the time. But this is where it's just so many different angles. I can't help but keep thinking of it like a soap opera all the time, because you got Jerry and you got others and you got players, and we're not on the same page. They're not the meetings or the talks and just saying this is. I don't know. I just get frustrated with it because it just seems like it's entertaining, but I don't know how productive it is. So, what's your solution, JT? How we fix it? How we get everybody on the same page?
I think that you gotta have one voice right now, because right now you've got two. You got what Stephen Jones says, and then you've got what Jerry says. And I feel like internally there's probably a little bit of a power struggle on like who actually gets to make the decision at the end of the day. And I think one of those two people are a little bit more prone to making emotional decisions than the other one. You can attribute that to whichever one you think it is. But then I also think there's a lot of unnecessary hype around some of our position groups that I had at least been told all year that they were one of the best in the league. And then I look around, I'm like, well, maybe not. And I'm talking about the offensive line. I don't think that Tyron Smith is much of a difference maker as much as everybody said he was. I think this line is at best average, but I don't actually think collectively they are an average group. I think they are probably a little bit below average. And the defensive line, I think the problem is that Micah Parsons was leading the team in sacks, which is great. but it's also a problem because he's a linebacker.
Yeah. Are you saying
And
there's hatred in there, or what are you saying? Or the
well,
problem
I'm
with
just
the
saying, like, I'm watching the Titans and they sacked Joe Burrow like 8 times, and it just seems like everybody was getting to the quarterback. They were able to rush 4. They didn't have a Michael Parsons that just lines up anywhere and you can't find him, and then boom, there he is. It was just like, well, this, and you got Bosa and Watt. I'm watching all these dudes in the playoffs. It's like, where they are, and they're going to get to the quarterback anyway. And we think we have that, but we don't actually have that. Tank is supposed to be that guy, and he's very good, but he's not at the level in which we want him to be at, in the sense of like, well, Tank's going to have 2 or 3 sacks. Who's going to block Tank? It is just, that's never been the conversation. The conversation is, this season has always been, well, who's going to block Michael Parsons? But you can't just send Michael Parsons every play, because he does have to cover. Otherwise, you're just down a linebacker, or you're going to have to play, 5 in the front. So I think we have problems on both sides of the ball with offense and defense. And I think that we don't have a unified voice in the front office on what the direction of the team is actually supposed to be at. And sometimes I think that the Cowboys front office sometimes thinks that they are the smartest in the room, which is how you make draft picks like Charco Charlton instead of TJ Watt, or you take a flyer on Randy Gregory that doesn't play for 2 or 3 years. And
I'm laughing at Lawrence down there hitting his head.
It's hurting my heart. It's hurting my heart.
Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate that. I know I want to get back to Tony, because I know he's got to go to a nice little brunch or something. He's like they're the housewives. They're the ones on the other reality show.
Real Housewives of Dallas.
Yeah, the Real Housewives of Dallas.
Hey, I'm going to a Mexican brunch, so man, don't give me a hard time about that.
Yeah, y'all have brunch? What are you talking about? I saw him schmoozing. He posted all his pictures with. I was kind of upset because I didn't get the invite. I saw you had the gang back together. I don't know where y'all were.
Hey,
IG.
I don't think you're on that team, man.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I'm just kidding, man.
All right. But before you get out of here, I wanted you to talk about this a little bit, because we all might be interested in it. I think those defensive holding calls that we got by our guys. I know what the philosophy is and all that kind of stuff, but the blatancy that Gregory did, where the hell's that come from? Is that being tired, lazy? What do you think?
Well, he's had the propensity to make those kind of impulsive decisions, and I think whenever you when you're frustrated and you're doing some things that maybe you're not having much luck, then guys just lose their mind, and that's just ridiculous, inexplicable. The holding penalties and the things that you do, I get it. And sometimes you're going to get caught, sometimes you're not. But if you get caught, look, you can't do it again. You can't do it blatantly. And I think that they just keep doing the same thing. And I think, again, it comes down to, when a game is that close, you cannot ill afford to make the stupid mistakes that they make, because they're not that good. And when you have 14 penalties in a game, George, in a playoff game, give me a break.
Yeah.
And you're not that good. So, I think that's the thing about it. It's like we say this all the time. Look, you're going to get beat. That happens in football. They're going to make plays, and that's the nature of the game. But when you just inflict yourself with all these senseless penalties and don't give yourself a chance, that's on the player. This is playing dumb football. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only way I can explain it. And if you're not very smart, the self-awareness is probably the best thing. We all got to be self-aware of what we're doing and what the moment is. And if we make that mistake, then that can be very punitive. So that's kind of my perception of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do appreciate that very much. You got Ms. Vonda, who's saying she completely agrees. with you, that's because you're the man. You're the man. You're the man. Like that. So I know you need to run.
Well, hey, I appreciate you guys having me. And look, I think that we all share the same thing. I feel bad for the fans. I mean, it was a frustrating year. But I will say this: at least the team that beat this is not going to do any moral victories, but at least the team that beat them is playing an NFC Championship game. So you guys have a great one. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. There he is, the great one, Tony Casillas.
Peace out, guys.
Later. Yes, sir. There you go. JT on it. Oh, guess I got it. We got it done. So I don't know. I got the note from Craig saying that we had a little bit of echo in here. I don't know. I don't know anything about an echo in StreamYard.
I can't fix it. Yeah, it's somebody's speakers are probably just a tad too loud. I can hear it too, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, well, we'll see how it finishes up. But now we got the band back together. So this is the part of where where I was saying we had the days of our lives. This is the part where I'm saying this now becomes all my children. So I'm thankful for you guys in here so that we can be able to talk about, what's going on with our family, our fan base. We're all kind of torn up. It's weird to me. It's frustrating. I got all kind of emotions going on. I think that was you. Was that you, Lawrence, that said, hey, you're finally able to talk about the doggone game? I think me and JT
I think
exactly
a lot of
the
us have
same
said that in the last couple days. I think Patrick actually said it, but he never joins.
Oh yeah, yeah. He tries to pretend like he's busy and writing all the time or something. But anyhow, so let's move forward a little bit, I guess. So let's talk about the coach. What do you guys think really going to happen with the coaching stuff? Are we feeling like we're going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4? How many people on the staff do you think we'll lose? Not from getting fired, but maybe from taking jobs. So I'll say, is Joe Witt leaving? Is George Edwards leaving? Is Dan Quinn leaving? Is Kellen Moore leaving? I think that would be the only 4 that I could really think of.
DQ's definitely gone.
Okay.
That's heartbreaking too.
DQ's definitely gone, and I don't know. Kellen may have cemented him a place here if he's still welcome with performances that he's put up the last 3-4 weeks of the season. He's just not the wunderkind that everybody thought he was.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. I think if we would have won that game, it might have been better for him.
Yeah, I think so, but I feel like if you go back and just look at the last 3 seasons of the teams that we've beat, like offensively, you find that it's really not that impressive.
That's what I'm saying.
Even this year, we had been talking about it all year.
What does that make a difference for coaches to get hired in this league, though?
Exactly.
You
got what, 4 or 5 interviews? I mean, there's still yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculation, right? That's how coaches get hired. I feel like it's kind of like stocks. That's how stocks go up and down, is just what people think are going to happen, not really actually what the value of that thing is. Oops, maybe I need to stop doing that then.
You can't do that anymore.
I'll fix it in a second. But I really just think that I don't know if I think it's partly the fan base. I think it's partly national media and partly Jerry in the terms of like where this hype comes from. And you got the non-Cowboy fans that hate the hype. You got the Cowboys fans that buy into the Kool-Aid. And then this happens, as it does every season, just like, we were just talking about it, like a sitcom or anything. Well, I don't even know if it's a sitcom. It's more of a soap opera, that just runs on for 30 years where
Because
you
it's
know
Miami.
that this is just how it ends. I don't know how many times we've seen this movie where we have these good seasons where you look and say, oh, well, look, they're 12-5. They have a shot at the number one seed, probably not going to get it. And then you look back at those 12 wins and you're like, all right, how many of these 12 wins were actually good wins against like playoff teams? And how many were just against scrubs? And I think I said it to you where I just thought, I said, I wish these divisions were like college conferences where you could just leave so that we could stop playing in the NFC East. Because I genuinely think that's part of the problem is that they get 6 wins because they get to play the Eagles, the Giants, and football team twice.
Just ban
And then-
the NFC East.
And then they don't know what to do when they go play somebody that's not even that good, like the Broncos. And then they want to talk all this mess about, well, the Broncos didn't have the blueprint. I hope more teams do this to us because we know how to. And then more teams do that to you, and then what happens? You lose.
Mhm. Ugly too. I'm still frustrated about it again. I'm still scratching my head. I'm still upset. I'm gonna wear my stuff. I'm proud and all that kind of stuff. I want us to be better, but we got to take some steps. Justin, you're funny. We can't put your stuff up on the screen right now because of where our layout is. But his comment was, "Five McCarthy hired D'Amico Ryans." That's funny. Come on now, you know better than that. That's his Alabama fandom side, right there. So, anyway, yeah, we have to play around with this. We don't normally use this platform, so. As you guys learned last week when I was messing up things, trying to figure out how to get out of it as well. So we're still figuring out things here. So thank you for your patience. We're moving stuff around on the screen. We tend to keep a lot of stuff that we need to do and learn about StreamYard still. Great platform, but not the one we normally use. Okay. So what about Amari Cooper? What's going on with him and Jerry? Is there something behind the scenes we need to know? Is Amari just coming out of his shell, talking now? Do you think this is going to work, Camber? What do you got any some kind of scoop on what the hell is really going on with Cooper?
I
and
do.
Jerry?
The vaccine thing was an issue. The vaccination is definitely an issue, and it has caused problems. You know, we understand Coop came out and gave his reasoning that, other people have families and they're getting around everybody and everything like that. At the same time, my understanding is both Zeke and Dak were bubbling and not letting anybody around them. And everybody has the right to choose what they're going to do with their body, but he had a responsibility to the team and perhaps maybe not be at football games or basketball games and, things of that nature, that he put himself out there to get it. So I absolutely know that that's a factor of tension between them. Now, as far as Cowboys Twitter screaming about trading him, letting him go, everything like that. First of all, we let him go. It's costing us $6 million on that cap. $6 million we really don't have to let go. The other thing is that currently under contract right now, we have CeeDee Lamb and Simi Fehoko, and that is it in our wide receiver room. So we really need to kind of tread lightly and figure out. But I do think some of Coop being vocal was the frustration with the play calling and the things that we don't know that have gone on behind the scenes. And we saw a different side of Amari start to talk about it. So.
Well, he wants the ball, and yeah, I think there's other pieces that I can say there's a certain amount of pressure that you even put on yourself as a player. If you know you're making a shit ton of money and you're not producing it doesn't look good for another contract or a raise or a renegotiation or something, And I'm sure him and his agent are probably talking about that, like. Bro, how many? Does anybody know how many total catches he had? What do you have?
68.
That's.
You want to know how many CeeDee Lamb had? 79. You know how many Dalton Schultz had? 78.
Yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
so
Not
these
good.
are down to three.
Dalton Schultz and Amari Cooper have the exact same amount of targets.
Dalton Schultz and Amari.
Yes. And they're only 16 targets behind CeeDee Lamb. So, it's I don't think 104 receptions is particularly a bad number for Amari Cooper, but that number is way too high for Dalton Schultz.
Right.
That's
And
how
I
it
think
started
that's
out.
kind of where Amari's frustration is. It's like, wait a minute, you paid me $100 million. Fine. I agree. I should be 1,000-yard receiver and this, that, and the other thing. But he's like, half of these targets that should be going to CD and me are going to some dude named Dalton Schultz, who before last season wasn't even the starting tight end.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And that's why I keep throwing back to what is going on with him and the quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's like either you or Tony said earlier, when you watch Green Bay, when you watch, even San Francisco with their limited passing abilities, it's going to Debo.
Yes.
And they get it there. Or it's going to 11, what's his name, Ayuk. You know that those two guys are getting it. And Kittle, well, never mind. San Francisco's a bad example. But Green Bay, it's going there. With Tennessee, it's going to A.J. Brown. And they get it there. Dak seems like he's beholden to the system where you just find the person that's open and then you throw it to them. Instead of seeing that Amari Cooper is one-on-one against a second-string cornerback and saying, I put my money on 19. Nope, that dude's a little too close to him. Oh, Schultz is open because Schultz is always open, and then throw it there. They have to stop doing that if they're going to beat good teams, because good teams do that. Good teams find the person that's their moneymaker and they get them the ball. The Dallas Cowboys find the person that's open, and 9 times out of 10, it's a tight end who has the mobility like Jason Witten, where you're going to catch it. It's going to take you about 3 seconds to turn around, and then you're going to get 2 yards and fall. That's what we got going on there. You've got to get the ball to the moneymakers, man.
I want to ask you this because you kind of touched on it, but I think there is one player in particular that they do this with, where they're just like, hey, we're just gonna throw the ball up and see what happens. That's Michael Gallup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Except they only do this when they're down 17 points and it's a 9 route.
Yep.
Yep. They don't do this throughout the rest of the game. It seems like they kind of wait until their backs are against the wall, and then they're like, all right, hey, Gallup, just run deep. I don't care how many people are covering you. I'm going to throw it. But now I'm going to throw it deep. I'm probably also going to throw it out of bounds, but we won't talk about
it. So you can catch. Yeah, he makes some amazing catches.
Yeah, he does.
Absolutely amazing stuff that he does. But I don't. And so you're making me scratch my head again, because it's just I don't understand it. JT can attest, as we're high school coaches, and we had a really, really good wide receiver named Duran Bradley at Texas Tech right now. He's about, 6'5", 6'6", something. There wasn't very many people that could cover him, right? And we did have a coordinator before who wasn't necessarily doing what we wanted him to do or what I wanted him to do. And so I had to interject as coach, the head coach, and say, look, we're going to move this guy around. We're going to use some different terminology. We're going to put him there. We need to have on that call sheet, when I just need to say, just throw it to him. Quarterback knows that that's where we're going. It's a screen. It's something. We got to get him involved early. And it just don't seem like it shouldn't be that hard for Mike McCarthy to come in, Jerry Jones, somebody, and you say, yeah, you're going to get his targets. You need to have 8, 10, 12 targets a game. You might not catch all of them, but put some plays on there where we know where we're going to throw it to him, because we got to get him involved early and often. And so it baffles me when we're talking like this and we're saying hey, he's not getting the ball. He's throwing the ball to Schultz or something. Someone should be on the headset, like I was, and saying, how many targets he got? That guy. We're winning the game or we're losing the game, whatever it is. Just it's time to get him the ball. And
Do you think that's? Do you think that is a product of the front office? Not in the sense of like they're telling them how to coach, but more so that if you feel that you have the smartest guys in the room, that you hire people that also feel like they're just the smartest guys in the room, and that they you end up on the overthink express where you're just trying to scheme everybody to death instead of just doing exactly that. Just be like, hey, how many times have you thrown the ball to CD today? Oh, 3. Fix that. I don't care what you do, but fix that.
Are you asking if I think that they're being told to spread it out, or
no? I'm asking if you all think that the culture of people that decided that we're going to take Tarkle Charlton over TJ Watt, that mindset hires other people that have that mindset of, I don't need, like, my system works. I don't need CD and Amari and whatever. I need them to fall in line and run the offense because this is what the offense is. And if that means Dalton Schultz has 800 yards on the season, then that's what it means. And we're not. The reason we aren't winning games is because we're not executing well, not because we're not using our stars.
Okay. That's a good point. It's
so basically too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Or the cook is not in the kitchen. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm just saying maybe they need a Gordon Ramsay that just says, hey, this souffle sucks. Like, what idiot sandwich or whatever it is that he does.
Right.
And just be like, hey, man, we got $100 million receiver. There's a reason we paid him. There's a reason he went number 4 overall. Throw him the ball 20 times. And if 10 of them are incomplete, oh, well.
Yeah, but
wasn't that supposed to be McAdoo's job? What did McAdoo do?
I don't know.
Talk about that, dude. Oh man, I don't like him.
He's gone. He's gone.
Good.
So he's
Yeah, he went to, where did he go to?
Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. Good riddance.
And honestly, I thought that was supposed to have been his job. Why they brought him in as
consultant.
Consultant.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about.
Somebody need to get the job though, because it's very, very frustrating to watch. You know, CD and Coop and even Cedric sometimes watch them just go down there, run their routes or whatever, and the ball never goes to them. It's going to Schultz, or it's going to
Zeke,
too high to Zeke out of the backfield, or to Pollard out of the backfield, which I do want to incorporate them, but you got those dudes down there for a reason. Those dudes are playmakers. Give them the ball.
And then when they do throw it deep, it's in the double coverage and it's way too far.
Right. No. Yeah. I think he uses Zeke as a pacifier.
Oh yeah.
Like it's his blankie, you know?
Yeah.
There are times that I just don't get it.
Hey, was Pollard hurt like during that San Francisco game?
No, he wasn't hurt.
But Zeke was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Zeke's been hurt the entire time. And I get that they keep him in for blocking, which he's damn good at. However, I think Pollard touched the ball, 6 times the entire game?
Are you counting kick returns?
Okay. 8 times the entire game?
You're right. It was 6. He had 4 rushing attempts and 2 receptions.
Catches, right? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I asked this of my dad, I think on the way back from the game, about the dynamic between McCarthy and Kellen Moore. And I was kind of saying I feel like if McCarthy had his way, Kellen Moore wouldn't have been the offensive coordinator when he got hired.
Right.
That was kind of like something that he just had to deal with. And we were talking about the scheme and his offense too simple, and should Mike McCarthy have stepped in? And I asked, do you think Mike McCarthy may have just been like, hey, I don't really want you as the coordinator, so we're just gonna live and die by your offense, and if it goes belly up, like this is not my fault. I can say you wanted Kellen Moore, this is what you get. Now, can I do what I want to do? Do you think that is or do you think that's a thought that McCarthy may be having?
If he is, he shouldn't be the head coach.
Yeah. And
Come on. I mean, as a head coach, you got one ultimate goal, and
regardless of whether that was his dude or not, he's still going to be tied to it.
Right.
And obviously he knows that Jerry and fam love them some Kellen Moore. So to me, it would seem like if you're just going to let it, die on Kellen, I mean, you're probably going first.
Yeah, it could bite him in the butt making that decision.
Yeah, because that's their dude. So you're probably going first regardless. So I don't know. I like the way you think conspiratorially, though.
Is Kellen Moore Jason Garrett 2.0?
I think so.
I think he's Sean Payton. Well, I think he's more. I think the thread started with Sean Payton, where you had him on staff, and you're just terrified that he's going to leave and go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl for some other team. And you're going to look back and be like, man, if we could have just kept Kellen Moore. And then I think that happened with Jason Garrett, how he gets 10 years, and Kellen Moore is just the next one in the cycle of like, we got to just keep him around as long as possible. Which
JG get another job? JG get another job this year? He's somebody quarterback coach, or is he done?
Not yet.
Yeah.
He will be though. I mean, he'll get a job. It's like they just keep recycling these dudes.
He's got to be an analyst
Director
somewhere.
of personnel or something somewhere. Player relations is what it needs to be. Not coaching, but in the front office, doing something with the players in that aspect.
Okay, so what does Dak do this off season? How does I'm saying, what does he do? I'm worried about the off season a little bit. Is his voice heard enough? We got 23 free agents.
Yeah, a lot.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And some that are, I say that we need. I mean, like she said, all these wide receivers that are going to be gone potentially.
We have one safety under contract, Donovan Wilson. That is it. That is our only safety that is under contract right now.
Yeah, well, that worries me.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would expect any other team to rectify that pretty quickly, but I don't expect the Cowboys to
go all in on safety.
Well, not even all in, just like halfway, just even like give it a thought. I feel like they're gonna go to, we go and get players. We'll go and get offensive players and linemen from, your Kroger and Whole Foods.
Right.
But when it comes to safety, they're like, all right, we'll just go to the clearance bin in Walmart and whatever's left over.
Yeah.
Even though the one they got, they gave the green dot to this year.
Yeah, I love that.
So, unless Curse's agent right now is like, no, we're hitting free agency, I would hope to God they have had conversations about his contract.
Yeah. What's his market though now?
Yeah,
Jerry and not wanting to pay safeties.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, wherever
he'll go to Denver with Dan Quinn.
That's what I was about to say. Wherever DQ goes, that's probably where he'll end up if we ain't paying him.
He actually was a George Edwards guy.
Yeah, he's a George Edwards guy.
George Edwards brought him in.
Yeah, he might have brought him in, but DQ brought that potential out of him.
Yeah. George Edwards can't pay him.
Well, you got KZ. He might try to follow Dan.
I would.
Well, he already did once.
Hooker.
Yes.
See what give Hooker another year to see what because he had some good moments.
Yeah.
Well, Hooker's only 1 year removed from that injury too, so he'll have another off season to get himself back into normal.
Yeah, he was getting into playing shape and whatnot. Hey, when you said off season, Teague, I was thinking, because you being a former player and everything, as far as Dak and the receivers, did y'all or do y'all like in the off season just completely get away from the team while you have the chance? Or is there like, I mean, because to me, it would seem like Dak would be having Amari and CD and, well, maybe Gallup over to the house like all the time in his little backyard football thing, just getting on schedule, or is it always into camp, boom, gone?
No, we were definitely one like that on any of the squads, except for Green Bay, because we got the hell out of Green Bay because it was too cold up there. But typically what you do have a little bit of time now, season over with, you go take a little break, coaches are changing and all this other kind of stuff. But you still were working out, and there was still some bonding time at the facility. So you still, hey, when you're going in kind of deal, work, go eat lunch, do whatever, do stuff together or at the house. But the main key was, and this is what kind of bothers me because I don't know if it's happening. I just figured we'd see it more on Twitter or Instagram if they were doing it. I just don't. It was always the extra time. That is when you gained your trust. That's when you started doing your own one-on-ones or your own footwork drills or your own, hey, we're going to run this comeback 15 times so we know the spot that I need to throw the ball to, and that's what I know it's so long ago, but it's what I really have implanted in my brain is I would watch Troy and Mike. Mike would put his helmet on and his shoulder pads on in the offseason, put his mouthpiece in and run the routes full speed. So we would do conditioning, we go inside, get an ice tug, get some rest, do whatever, eat some lunch. They would come back and they would go out there uncoached and he would run freaking full speed and they would get the timing down on that route. And then they coach each other up. And you're consistently doing this.
That's what I was asking. If these guys if that's something that is a norm with the off season with players, or if these guys are just going their separate ways and doing whatever they do.
Wasn't that the whole thing coming into camp this year, though, that with Dak coming off his injury, him and Cooper and whoever else were going to his house and they were throwing balls, and then, Dak had the shoulder thing. They were, you threw too much in the offseason. Where did all of that progress go? They just kind of –
Do you
I
guys,
wasn't running full speed. They probably weren't running full speed. They might have been out there tossing the ball to each other, having a good time in the pool or something.
I mean, even that, I'm happy with them doing that.
Sorry.
No,
Do you
that's
think-
true.
do you think the quarterback coach should change? Like bring back Kitna?
they should have never left Kitna.
Yeah, Kitna shouldn't have
Dak
left.
in line, and maybe Nussmeier has been letting Dak, not
Yeah.
keeping him focused and back
Don't they have like 18 QB coaches though?
Not the right ones.
Yeah, they need the right one back.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot for that position that you got to have the right guy to coach quarterbacks. You might get away at some other positions and let things, but that position is so mental and what they're seeing and the pressures, like a kicker, there's so many things that you got to have the right person that can get through to your coach or your quarterback, maybe even differently than the head coach, because they're just in a different world. And yes, I do think that would be important to really evaluate that position for Dak, because it did feel like he's he wasn't the $40 million man that I needed him to be.
He just didn't look confident at all.
This year. No. So, and I don't know what that is.
Bye week in his injury.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with his confidence the first 6 games.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but how do you lose it? What happened?
Right.
What
I don't know, but he just really looked different after that Denver game. Just I don't know.
Well, we got too many I don't knows, and I guess we're all going to be looking at the all 22s and trying to figure it all out and see what the heck happened, because we just fell apart there. We couldn't get out of it. I know there's slumps and there's ups and downs. We've been through it, but we never even got out of it at all. It just kind of went, as JT said, all the way throughout the rest of the year. I think we felt good about the game and knowing we probably could have beat San Francisco, but the way history was going, I think it was in the back of our mind, like, we're not going to do this.
What do you make of the comment that McCarthy said that they were nervous coming out.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
saw that.
well, oh,
Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't like that. And I know he tried to change his words, and I don't know what he changed to, anxious or something else. But those are things that I've actually said about a football team, but never to a television or
Right.
a radio or something. That was a coaching talk. Like, man, we got to figure out, because if you saw that, you got to be able to hit those guys' buttons. That's what a professional coach has to do with these grown-ass men that might be not fired up enough or too nervous or too amped. The strength coach, you got to get somebody and be like, hey, we got to go in here and get this shit right. Crank up the music. I don't know, get a stretch, get a prayer. I don't know, something to push those buttons. And you should be able to read the room like that as a head coach. And you see it's kind of somber or, I got these young cats here and, well, go motivate and change the tune before we work out, because they did look kind of he's right, damper. I don't think we started off fast. It just seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of emotion in the game. I think we're getting away from sports psychology in pro football, and it's more analytics and all the other kind of things that, hey, I just need to read this paper and we just got to run these plays and do this stuff and kind of, and not really get to the mind of these guys like before. That's why they're tapping people on the butt. I'm going on a rant now, I'm sorry, but that's exactly what's happening. I think the game is evolving in so many different ways. It's hitting the Cowboys harder than most, maybe, or because I don't know that we're looking at all aspects of the game of how to actually motivate them. Why they're having all these holding calls and all this kind of stuff. That's lack of. Yes, that's player stuff, but even at that level, a coach needs to be able to come in and say, "What the hell you got to figure out how to have that conversation with that guy that's making $40 million off to the side and say, bro, this ain't looking good for you and your family." We need to fix this. And I don't know if that happens anymore. I just think ball is different. So there's my take, my Teague's take on that part of we're just not playing football like it needs to be played all the way around because we're worried about too much other stuff, right? So throw the analytics book out, get the sports psychology book back, and coach football. All right. So who are we going to lose? Free agency. We got a couple linebackers y'all didn't hit on. The LVE.
Neal can leave. LVE, the way he came on at the end of the year, makes me think a couple of things. One, that injury was behind him and that he was getting more confidence. He showed that if the interior defensive line was doing their job, he could do his job better. And I think that as a depth piece, considering we're pretty thin at the linebacker position, at a depth piece with a team-friendly contract, he'd be one to probably keep around, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think the one piece that you left off is contract year. Guys tend to play a little bit different. They'll fool you, Camber. They'll fool you. You'll have a damn good one. Get broke off and you go right back to the same old stuff next year. You're like, damn, he tricked us.
I think as long as he's like Camber said, as long as it's team friendly, I'd keep him. Even if he goes back to a previous form, that previous form wasn't terrible. It just wasn't what we had seen from him very early on. So he's by no means a terrible linebacker. He's just not flashing that all-pro ability that he had in his was it his rookie year?
Yeah, it was his rookie year.
Yeah, that rookie year was something else. So he has fallen off from that, but he's still, I'd take him over, a good percentage of options that we would have to replace him.
Yeah. If you look at the free agency, which would be in that $2-3 million mark, like he made right now, 4 linebackers this year, I'm not seeing something else I would replace him with.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So, draft Nakobe Dean, get 48 back. I think we'll be all right.
Right.
All right. Question for you. Make you think a little bit. We'll play a game with this one. If you could only take one,
Why are you doing this?
Right.
Cedric Wilson or Michael Gallup?
No, you already know my answer.
No, I don't. I want to hear it. I don't know it. Go ahead. Speak up, Lawrence.
Cedric Wilson. I've been saying this for 2 years.
No, that was JT that said that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You said Cedric Wilson.
I actually agree with him. As much as I love Michael Gallup, and he has been my guy since they drafted him, the offense ran better with Cedric Wilson as opposed to Gallup in there. And I think it goes into a little bit where it was Cedric wasn't looked at as like the weapon that Michael Gallup is. So he was able to do, he can do more than Gallup can. Gallup is just basically your deep threat, where Cedric can be part of your gadget plays. He's a good receiver. Like, he's got a lot more viability in that offense than Gallup does.
He was the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC East.
So
that's who you're going with too?
I would go with Cedric.
So at the beginning of the season, I would have absolutely told you Gallup. After seeing the way we did play, that we could play without him, how Cedric could be used, and knowing the number difference in their contracts, I'm going to say Cedric now.
Yeah, everybody going with Ced.
What you say, boss?
Same thing. Like I absolutely love Gallup. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we use him for 9 routes and just unbelievable catches in the red zone. And I don't know if that's because that's what his bailiwick is, or is it that we've just pigeonholed him into that. Could he do some of the across the middle and the other things that Cedric does? I think he can, but we have not seen it. So I would have to go with Cedric, as he gives us more options. And like you said, with the quarterbacking, he'd be putting some dimes out.
Okay.
Gallup's going to get 11 to 15 million.
Who said he?
No,
Gallup.
On the open market right now, he's valued at like 11.9. So
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just think
he's said is a much friendlier value.
I just think Gallup runs like 3 routes, and he's watered down. He's watered down Des Bryant. That's what I see him as.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
He runs a good 9 route. He runs a good comeback, and
He runs a hell of a slant.
All right. So look. So here's my other thing. I think that he is the real analogy is that he's a poor man's Michael Thomas. And I think if you want versatility and somebody that's actually going to like be able to run a bevy of routes, you can move him around. Like, Gallup cannot play in the slot. He's a outside receiver that's a big body. And if you need somebody to run a seam or a dig or anything else because you need a first down, Gallup ain't it.
Preach on, brother, preach. That's why it's called Teague's take. Teague's take. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So another one then. We're going defense side of the ball now.
I know exactly where you're going.
No, you don't. Malik Hooker or KZ?
Oh, Hooker.
Hooker all day.
Easy.
All day.
That was easy, huh?
Yeah.
That one.
And whatever happened to that DUI, by the way? Just
He's gone away. Jerry Jones, red trash can over there.
because I was waiting on the 1-2 game suspension. It never happened, and I was like, oh,
Well, the
It'll come.
Raiders did enough to like cover everybody's drama this year.
Oh my
You,
God.
you could have drama, and the Raider drama would come out and be gone.
Yeah. You think more is going to come out of that?
Well,
Since
you
went
know,
there.
what's his name? The one that got the DUI, 2 weeks later, got busted for doing 115 on the freeway.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
yeah.
Oh boy.
They need to reel in their players there.
Okay. All right. I think that's the only good matchups that we got. There's a lot of people on this list. I don't know necessarily match up. Are you going to overpay Randy Gregory?
No,
Yep.
I wouldn't. Well, I mean, yeah, the Cowboys will. Sure, they will.
Yeah, they're going to overpay him. And again, it's the same thing with LVE. Who out there is a better replacement? I mean,
The only thing that really irks me about the Cowboys and free agency is like, I remember Anthony Hitchens, and like we let him go, and then he goes to Kansas City and wins, and he starts for Kansas City and wins the Super Bowl. And say what you want about Cheeto, but Cheeto is starting for the Bengals right now, and the Bengals are doing pretty damn well. So why is it that when we have all these guys that we don't? Like, what's the deal with that? Why is it that when they go somewhere else, all of a sudden they turn into stars and cornerstones? It was Anthony Hitchens and the other linebacker. Both were starting for Kansas City. I can't remember what his name is.
Damian Wilson.
Yeah, Damian Wilson.
Yep.
Like they just
and their cornerback.
Because they play for the Dallas
Scandrick?
Cowboys.
No,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
No.
just hold on now. Got some strong feelings about Scandrick.
No,
And then they
not,
let Byron Jones walk.
well,
Yeah,
Not
well,
paying no DBs,
that was money.
man.
That was
He
money.
ain't paying no DBs.
hey, I don't know. I'm still, the jury's still out for me on Byron Wilson. I just don't know how you go 4 years without having a pass interference call. To me, that just means you weren't covering anybody.
So
It's too easy to get pass interference calls, and if you can play 4 seasons without doing that, then
You might be
Well,
good.
in his defense, they tried to make him into a safety for 2 years, and that was just a bad thing that they
Yeah.
shouldn't have been doing either. They should have let the boy be at corner the whole time.
So what about with Gregory in mind, this may be a little outside the box. Let's say you don't resign Gregory. Would you just move Micah to be that end and then go
No.
linebacker
Mm-mm.
somewhere?
Heck no. Heck no. Heck no.
no way, man.
Heck
No.
no.
I
That's too
wouldn't do it. I'm just saying. I've
That's
seen
why
some
they gotta-
silliness. I've seen the silliness on Twitter. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing here?
People trying to make him a full-time DE.
No.
No, that ain't what. That ain't.
No,
You don't reap the benefits of that,
right. No, I agree. I completely agree.
Nope.
which
He
is
could be an
why
outside backer in the
we are going
3-4.
to overpay Gregory.
Gregory's
Yeah.
going to give you a hometown discount because of loyalty from Jerry.
He should
And the
because
good news
Jerry
is
hung
that
on
that
to him.
scope was really clean. It was a super easy surgery that he just had. It wasn't anything in depth. They said that it was so easy and so clean that had we made the Super Bowl, he'd be playing in it.
Should've
So
made the
that's good news.
Okay. All right. So this is all speculation, all this kind of stuff. What we're going to do with Zeke? Are they going to try to move him? Is something going to happen? Or are we just going to?
They can't.
They love him, and yeah, they can't. Not with that contract.
Well, yeah, who's taking that?
And who wants him?
I'm just.
You got to be the only team that would take him would be the Giants if they didn't have Saquon Barkley. The Giants are dumb enough to do something like that.
Yeah.
The Raiders, the Raiders ain't on the highest of IQs either,
That's true.
Right.
and they do love a Dallas washout.
Yeah, considering they wouldn't got Jeff Heath.
They like
I guess-
everybody to watch out. Honestly, it hadn't changed. That's all. He was talking about Al Davis and the old stuff. That is old ground. Oh, he said the Dolphins would take him. I kind of like, yeah, the Dolphins need a running back. They're going to get any better. Miles Gaskin ain't the answer. I'm gonna stop drafting him in the doggone league. I always take him.
Me
too
too.
late for him to
It's a good idea.
do something, and good lord, well, you get him for undervalue, and I thought, all right, he's kind of their guy, but man, good lord.
Well, where do you go from here in the draft? What position group are you targeting at whatever pick they have.
At
late first
24,
round pick.
linebacker
Offensive lineman.
offensive line.
Offensive lineman. I want a tackle. I want another guard. I want a center.
You're the draft first 5 picks. O-line.
Fix it. Fix it.
Get everybody else in free agency or something.
Who's out there in free agency because my understanding is that veteran O-linemen are hard to come by out there in free agency, especially right now.
And pricey.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah, if that kid from Iowa, that center, if he's available,
Linderbaum.
Linderbaum and Nakobe Dean are there. I mean, I'll take either one.
Well, if it's between those two, I'll go the center.
Yeah, and here's the deal, though. Kels is talking about retiring, and they're trying to talk him out of it at Philly. And Philly having those 3 top picks, that monster's going to be playing us twice a year.
No, Camber, get that out of the universe.
Sorry. I have to be realistic. Come on.
We don't like reality here.
I know.
Did we tell you this is a soap opera? We got our own script over here.
Right.
I don't want this to be true, but something in my gut says that somebody like Jahan Dotson is going to fall. They're going to be like, oh, best available, and grab Jahan Dotson. Everybody's going to be like, what? More receivers? For what? So we can have another guy that we're going to pay $100 million to and not throw the ball to?
Yep.
Right.
May not have any, though.
Well,
I mean, we need a third one. You got to have some backups and all this kind of stuff because you still got Noah Brown as free agent.
I like Noah Brown. He's not dynamic. He's not, but when he goes in there, he does what they ask him to do, and he gets off the field. I like him.
You like the underdog, don't you? Yeah, my wife. I always find that little,
like
sport one out there and just kind of, he's so cute. He just does what he does.
I like Malik Turner.
Yeah.
Turner's good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll be able to talk about the Cowboys all off season for a whole lot of stuff.
Especially after we get Sean Payton here in a minute.
Well, we'll definitely have to do a special episode again on that. After these coaching moves, we're going to have to be able to, if as soon as, I don't know, I guess we'll probably know something more about Dan Quinn here probably pretty soon because his stuff is heating up. How many teams is he interviewed with now? 6?
6 or 7?
All of them?
Everyone.
Everybody.
Well, and these coaching decisions got to come down quickly because isn't the Senior Bowl like in a week or 2 or something like that?
The Senior Bowl is on the 5th.
Okay, so 5th. A week and a half? Yeah.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And, see if Kellen Moore's name drops off and then what happens with the rest of the staff. If Dan Quinn leaves, we could potentially lose a lot of good defensive coaches, which might mess with some continuity and how you use Micah and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I was about to ask. Is there someone that's like his understudy right now that they would maybe promote?
Edwards or Joe Witt.
Yeah.
Both have been talked about that if Dan Quinn leaves, Then old Wink's out there now.
I was just gonna say if Dan Quinn goes, bring me Wink. That would be my guy.
Okay. I was thinking more in line of getting Mike Zimmer back. You don't like him?
I like him as a person.
You think he's handsome, or what are you talking about? They run the same type of defense almost anyway.
But I think if you got Micah and you pair him with someone like Wink who can do some good stuff with linebackers, I think that's a good mix.
Okay. All right. Well, it will be interesting, and as that starts to unfold, we'll make sure we get you guys back on here. I'll keep hitting you guys up in our sleeper app. Cameron don't check it anymore. She's all.
I turned the notifications off. That's why, because my phone's blowing up.
She's the commissioner. The commissioner is beholden to the owners, so y'all can just fire her. She don't want to do her job. They don't want to have the playoffs set when they're supposed to.
I bet you we pay attention.
That was not me.
Yes,
that
it was
me cleaning up somebody else's mess. Someone bailed.
That's what Goodell's been saying for like 10 years.
You know how it went down is that I messaged Pat about something and said, "Hey, is this what goes on?" And he was like, and I said something about, commissioner, and he was like, go check. And I checked, and he just made me commissioner without me being voted in, asked, anything. He was just like, "Yeah, it's yours."
Yeah,
That's Pat for you.
that's okay. We're gonna check it out. Because do we ever vote on what we're doing? Are we doing keeper league, or we're just starting over?
I thought we voted for keeper. And
See, you're the commissioner. You don't even know what
I'm
you
pretty
thought.
sure we did.
We need a
Somebody will
message.
double check me, but I'm
I think that we
I thought
did.
we did.
I'm
I
positive
thought we
we
did.
voted for keeper and 2.
Yeah, I thought that's correct.
Yeah, because her team's loaded. She's the one who wants to keep 2 people. She want to keep Josh Allen and McCaffrey. I think she got both.
McCaffrey can kick her out. I am never doing that. I drafted him in 3 leagues, you guys, and had to dig out of all 3 of them because of it.
Yeah, I made a pledge to there are certain people that are on my list of never draft, and I broke that pledge this year with McCaffrey and Barkley, and both of them just killed me. So they're back on the list.
Yeah, that's strategy right there. He's saying that just so we don't know until
Right.
he was on the board and none of them
We'll
are
have
out
both
there.
of them. We'll have both of them next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You guys are slick. Well, I do appreciate your time. I know we ran a little long here. It was fun to have Tony Casillas come in for a little bit. It's always a pleasure
That's
when
cool.
he can pop in and hang out with you guys. If you guys hadn't talked to him before, you can tell he's very knowledgeable and he's passionate about the Cowboys and the games. And he speaks the truth just like you guys. So I do thank all of you for this honor that you gave me. Now we got to go watch this. Who's got the first game? The Rams and the Bucks right now,
Yep,
right?
they're about to start.
So we can
Could have been us.
Go
get
Rams.
there and see it. So my prediction is the Rams. This will be the last thing. What's your prediction? I'm taking the Rams to win. Underdog. What about you guys?
I'm going Rams.
All right.
I have learned to not bet against Tom Brady.
All right.
The Bucks.
Got the Bucks.
Rams.
JT.
I got the Rams.
Oh man, that's the lone wolf down here. We need to do what got to do like Michael Irvin, all those guys, and start getting us a little.
That and I am all about seeing Tom Brady drunk in a Super Bowl parade on a boat. That was cool.
Throw the trophy again.
Yes,
Let
It was
it break
cool.
this
That was the first time I think I've ever liked Tom Brady in his life. It was cool.
Because you found out he drinks the same liquor that you drink. Is that what
Yeah,
you're talking about?
That he's human and makes dumb decisions. So
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys for this special edition of Teague's Take on a Sunday. We'll be back for a live show on Tuesday. Me and JT will be talking about
Transfer portal.
the transfer portal that's happening and all the stuff that's going on at the University of Alabama and maybe some other things. And then we'll follow that up with the next week with actually bringing Patrick on the show to come give us some expert analysis right before signing day. And maybe he can give us some inside stories about LSU and what they got going on down there. With all those new transfers they just got at LSU to see if they're trying to compete right away or what the deal is. So y'all make sure y'all tune in this upcoming Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Camber, thank you. Chaff, thank you. Lawrence, we appreciate it. JT, thank you for coming in and producing for us and having great input as always. So with that, I'm going to say we love you. Subscribe, like, deuces.